Most everyone has heard the saying, hindsight is 20/20, and there is certainly truth to that, but wouldn't foresight be much better? Foresight means the ability to anticipate or predict what will happen in the future and to plan accordingly. That sounds a bit like prophecy to me. Does it you? In Part 12, I introduced the idea that the complete cycle of sowing and reaping contains the past, present, and future. Consider the illustration. The past is typified by the root of the plant, the beginning of its cycle. The present is typified by the fruit, the end of its cycle. And the future, it too is typified by the fruit, for the seed of a fruit can only return what it is. No wonder Jesus said, "A good tree cannot bear bad fruit, nor can a bad tree bear good fruit." I see foresight in this statement. What has been is what will be, and what has been done is what will be done. And there is nothing new under the sun. Is there a thing of which it is said, "See, this is new"? It has been already in the ages before us. In Matthew 7:18, the word rendered fruit is defined by Strong's as fruit, as plucked, literal, or figurative. This word is found 66 times in the King James New Testament. Strong states that the word fruit is probably from the base of the word meaning, to seize. This word is found just 14 times. 14 is the number of deliverance or release. This is especially significant when we consider where this word is used. I know a man in Christ who 14 years ago, whether in the body I do not know, or whether out of the body I do not know, God knows. Such a one was caught up to the third heaven, and I know such a man. Whether in the body or out of the body, I do not know, God knows. How he was caught up into paradise and heard inexpressible words, which is not lawful for a man to utter. Then we who are alive and remain shall be caught up together with them in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air. And thus we shall always be with the Lord. She bore a male child who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron. And her child was caught up to God in his throne. If Strong's is accurate in his assessment, then the idea of caught up appears to express the presence of the fruit of the Spirit, having nothing to do with a rapture or physical removal from earth. I believe that Revelation 12:5 refers to what happened with Jesus once he was baptized by John. For it was there that the heavens were opened to him, the Spirit of God anointed him, and a voice from heaven declared, "This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased." I believe Paul's experience in 2 Corinthians 12 coincides with this. So too does John's in Revelation 1:10 and 4:1 and 2. To be caught up to God and his throne denotes the fruit of the Spirit reaching maturity in our being, and therefore plucked or harvested by the Lord. How did Jesus say it? When the grain ripens, immediately he puts in the sickle, because the harvest has come. Would this not be resurrection? It would. So how many times do we find the word fruit? 66 times. This seems to point to another number in Revelation 13:18, the number 666. It also points to Daniel chapter 3, where Nebuchadnezzar made an image of gold, whose height was 60 cubits, and its width 6 cubits. 2 6s in Daniel, but 3 in Revelation. 2 is witness, but 3 is a more complete witness. First, that which is natural, followed by that which is spiritual. Where Nebuchadnezzar's image leaves off 1 6, the false prophet brings this third 6 in. 6 is the number of man, but more specifically of man in enmity with his Maker. This points to the natural carnal man, does it not? For the natural man sees the things of God as foolish, while the carnal man resists the things God declares. So, that being the case, how does the Lord address this enmity? by means of his law. The first 6 refers to the natural, while the second to the carnal. The third 6 refers to the spiritual. The mark given by the collective false prophet denotes the law of God, typified by the tree of knowledge of good and evil. But the law is insufficient. The Spirit of God is needed to complete the cycle of sowing and reaping and bring us to the third and final stage of the process, which is to bear good fruit, symbolized by the tree of life. Remember, the tree of knowledge and the tree of life are the same, typifying the 2 covenants, old and new, and the process of resurrection working within. Consider the threefold characteristics of living, death, and life in light of the mark of the beast. At this point, you may think I'm crazy for seeing so much within the principle of sowing and reaping and bringing this to the mark. But take the Lord as our example. All throughout the Gospels, Christ speaks about seeds, trees, and fruit. In fact, of the 66 times the word fruit is used, 40 of these come from the mouth of Christ. Did you catch that? 40 times. What does this number signify? The wilderness, our place of testing. Might the idea of testing refer to the fruit we bear? Of course it would. Now let's come back to the pattern of 4, 2, and 1, forming the number 7. Remember, 4 is the number of a foundation, setting forth that which is needed to bring us to fruitfulness. In the 7 spirits of God, it's His wisdom, understanding, counsel, and might that move us forward in this process. In the illustration, this fourfold process is seen from seed to the full grain in the head. Once fruit ripens, harvest or separation begins, typified by the number 5, which is grace. But we must keep in mind that there is good fruit and bad fruit. What is the bad fruit? It's the fruit of the tree of knowledge. What is the good fruit? It is the fruit of the tree of life. What is the difference? The Spirit of God. No wonder Jesus told His disciples in John 15, "Without me you can do nothing." First, we have 4, referring to the foundation. Then we have 2, referring to the good and evil fruit resulting from the foundation. Then we have 7, denoting the fullness of each. Our pattern is complete. God rests while His divine and universal process of sowing and reaping accomplishes His purpose throughout the world. Now, before I close, allow me to emphasize that the fulfillment of the parable of the sheep and goats does not lie somewhere in the future. Rather, it is an ever-present reality that began once Christ ascended to the throne. His righteous judgment is past, present, and future, again ever-present and implemented through the principle of sowing and reaping. He is not coming to rule. He is ruling now. He is not coming to judge. He is judging now. The earth is the Lord's, and all its fullness, the world and those who dwell therein.